Hi there everybody, Photaku here. So I have a top 10 list for you that was brought up when I was live streaming the other day. A friend of mine named Stephen Wu asked, what are the top 10 anime betrayals? I thought I could answer this quite simply, but actually there's a lot more going down to it. Spoiler warning, we're gonna get into a lot of pivotal moments from certain animes and even reveals. So just saying right now. Okay, so where I want to start off this list, at number 10 is Matt Ishida from Digimon. Now, I know a lot of people would probably say that this is more so in terms of corruption by Cherrymon under the orders of Puppetmon, but it's still an action that's taken by Matt of his own accord, because Matt essentially is concerned that he's not as good of an older brother as Tai is being, and as a result, it causes him to leave the group momentarily, only to later have a discussion with Cherrymon, who exploits this little insecurity, and it causes Matt to confront Tai, in which they just have at it. And the whole time you just think, Matt, you're better than this, come on. And that's what makes it in the context of that betrayal. Plus, just the way that it emotes as to what could occur. It was something that was still done of his own volition, and that's what stings. Now, what we have is our number 9 topic, and that is Sasuke Uchiha. Granted, though, with Sasuke, it was something that occurred as a type of revenge engine that has been set up by Itachi, who killed his clan, supposedly. The truth was, it was all done to actually just protect Sasuke, since the entirety of the Uchiha were going to be blamed for an attack by the Nine-Tailed Fox. Now, this causes Sasuke to want to team up with Orochimaru to gain more power. And when he actually learns that the entirety of the betrayal situation by his brother was something orchestrated to protect him, he later decides to go after Konoha. And it's like, dude, that's not the issue. In fact, even by the revelation of the story by Obito, there were only 3 characters, the 3 village elders, who are to blame. But to throw everyone under the bus like that, that is terrible. Even when Itachi has to spoon-feed him the answer when he comes back from the dead, he does not change his course of action. More so, he just says that it's to prove his love more for his older brother. But I mean, Sasuke, why are you doing this? Don't. Naruto tried really hard to, bring you back from that despair, but yeah. So then at number 8, we have Ani Leonhart. Now, Ani Leonhart from Attack on Titan, one could say that maybe she was just following orders, and that her instigation was more so provoked by the fact that Eren Yeager is a Titan, and that just happened to change things. But no, if Ymir could prove that as a Titan she could find her own form of redemption, that is nothing to say the least, that Ani still backstabbed her fellow cadets. And what she did to Team Levi's group, even if she didn't personally know them, is just horrible to see happen. Nonetheless, it's just an extension of proving that she would not care what happened to anybody else. She just had one goal and job to get to a certain position, and nothing with her interactions with anybody else really changed that. Granted, though, she never expressed any real emotion. Now, with number 7, it's kind of an interesting case, only because this character is probably one of the most 3-dimensional characters posted out by Atlas. And this character is Tohru Adachi. Now, at first he seems like just a 2-dimensional character by comparison to anybody else. He is the murderer of the mysterious cases in Inaba, and he even chalks it down to just getting mad at a delusional moment that he had in believing that he was the affection of a Miss Yamato. And this is what kind of sparked it, just because obviously the feelings were never going to be reciprocated and he was just going crazy. Now, his betrayal here follows more so to not just that he is a criminal investigator and that he's using his job to do whatever he likes, but rather that he straight up betrays the Dojimas. He manipulates a man named Namatame to cause a bunch of kidnappings around town, where he throws people into televisions unaware of the dangers that lie behind them. But Adachi was fully aware when he instigated that idea. So I say 3-dimensional now because even though he got into his acts of murder as just something that seems pointless by comparison, it goes to show that within the golden animation, it was all sparked by feeling that he was being replaced, or rather that he was never really good enough in a scenario, which is what makes the protagonist's introduction into the series something that helps push him off the edge. And then as it continues, into Persona 4 Ultimate X, which is still a game in its current state. It hasn't been animated, but here we see that he plays off of the persona that is now something that is seen as scum, and he uses it against Minasuke Shou in order to stop his diabolical plan to destroy the world. So here and through, he is a betrayer, but he's at least grown into a character that has been trying to redeem himself, even though he's done horrible things. Now, at number 6, we have Toyotomi Hideyoshi from Sengoku Basara. And what's fascinating about this is you wouldn't think, well, he's a war general more than anything, and he has just the goals of unifying Japan under his iron rule. If nobody meets that, then they will be destroyed. That's pretty straightforward, though, so it's not like he's betraying anybody. But it comes into the respect that even with people that he allies with, he has full intention of making sure that they follow his whim, even if he feels that they might have their own ulterior thoughts. Especially because if everyone's siding with him just for the sake of being safe, what's to say if somebody's not just going to betray him later when they give him the opportunity? So yeah, he's a backstabber in that sense, but what's even more damning is the fact that he betrayed his friends before all this even started. Essentially, being afraid that if he doesn't have power, he can't protect the people he loves, let alone himself, he ends up betraying his friend Keiji, who has stuck up for him before and continues to do so within Season 2 of Sengoku Basara, despite the horrible acts he's doing, and he even kills his own love interest, Nene, feeling that that's just something that makes him weak. How could you justify that? Keiji even asked that. And if that's the case, where do we go from here with somebody who killed the woman that he loves? Well, with our number 5, we go down the rabbit hole into Shou Tucker of Fullmetal Alchemist. Shou Tucker is pretty much the fodder for anybody who wants to just describe what is horrible in an anime character. And essentially what he does is he takes people and turns them into chimeras with another animal. He did this with his wife, but even worse so, he did this with his daughter. And how anyone can wonder, why would you do that to Nina and Alexander? He does it just simply out of the fact that he could. He betrays the people closest to him just to feed his own ego, and that is absolutely unforgivable. And if we're on this line then, and as we're seeing the trend just go worse and worse, we top it with our number 4 at Kirei Kotomine from Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero. Here we have a priest who essentially wants to bathe the world in curses and destruction provided by the Lesser Grail. If you're probably wondering, well, what's the attachment case here? The point is, he is a character that was set up to try and confiscate the Grail for another group. This group was still underhanded, but just the fact that he literally stabs his own teacher in the back, I mean, Tosaka's face, even though it just almost seemed like you should have seen this coming. Essentially, he uses the engine of his own family's death that had occurred, something that was completely out of his control, paired up with the fact that secretly he's been so angry that it's covering up a murderous intent deep inside. He uses this whole Holy Grail war to just let loose those inner demons. Though in good part help to Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh is more of a manipulative, condescending asshole than he is necessarily a betrayer of any sort. He is what he is, but Kotomine essentially betrays people within the war to get them to do what he wishes. And even though he was more of a direct participant in the 4th Holy Grail War, to being the referee in a sense during the 5th Holy Grail War and still manipulating from the background, that is terrible, of which everyone's caught in it. There's children who are caught in a dangerous attack from the 4th event. He feeds them to Gilgamesh. He needs a servant in order to continue on with this evil plans. He pretty much takes one of the participants' arm, rips it off, and uses those command seals to make Lancer follow his whim. All for the sake of, once again, just destroying the world. Now with number 3, what we have here isn't really a direct betrayal of, let's say, family or country necessarily so much as we have just a more isolated incident. And here we have Walter from Hellsing. Essentially, Walter is a character who has the title of Angel of Death, killing people in the name of the crown, and he's succeeding well at doing so with his use of wires. Now, when he meets Alucard, he sees it more as a challenge. Granted, he was a kid even at the time, but here's the thing, meeting Alucard just pretty much twisted something in him to aspire to see that it was threatening even to his source of power, to a thing that has stuck within him, believing that Alucard says that nothing is truly immortal, and yet Walter always sees these astonishing feats pulled off by Alucard. There's a lot more innocent trappings that aren't detailed within the anime itself, but at the end of the day, Walter is holding on to a grudge, the better half of half a century, to join up with Millennium, and pretty much betrays all of his friends and comrades at a one-shot chance to take down Alucard. How do you even share that kind of camaraderie with someone, but at the end of the day, it was all just part of one big laid out plan to kill one of your own comrades? At the end, it's just fascinating because he undergoes a special treatment to make himself younger in order to fight at his prime, but at the end it just reveals Walter to be nothing more than just a childish killer. And speaking of childish killers, we come to our number 2 option, Imadoha Mahika. So, as everyone's probably thinking, it's probably Homura. By the end of the Madoka Rebellion movie, we have Homura, who essentially has now stolen the powers from Madoka, formed the world to her whim. But it's a little hard to see the context of it. It is a betrayal of the girl that she loved, but it's easy to understand that she went through complex emotions of her special power to try and save her friend many a time on several different timelines. Something that even Christina V has argued is complex emotions that only she has felt. Henceforth, the term of Homura did nothing wrong. She still did, but it's not as far as to go that she is not the only one without that sin being committed in the series. Everyone in some shape or form betrays each other in Madoka Magica, and a lot of that is thanks to in part of her special power to go into different timelines. The main offender, probably Kyubey, a cute animal saying that magical girls will fight witches, but realistically it's all just one big literal metaphor for a slaughterhouse of energy consumption in a different system in order to fulfill that alien race. That is terrible. They set up these girls to fight witches knowing that they will become witches and then have that energy going for them to prosper off of. And here, in the different timelines that Homura goes through to try and save Madoka, characters just betray each other. Freaking Mommy decides to kill off everybody when they decide what they're going to become, kind of like sparing them of that horrible fate. We have Kyoko, who essentially feels that she needs to be #1 witch, so she doesn't feel any type of remorse in fighting Sayaka or Madoka. And just to continue on with it, Sayaka, the crap that she goes through for the sake of the person that she loves, causing her to ultimately give into the dark power that turns her into a witch. No. Everyone, with probably the exception of Madoka, within the series in some shape or form, they all betray each other. Now, at #1, we have what encompasses everything described here. We have family and loved ones caught in the crossfire that you intentionally betray. We have for the sake of the world, probably as a better justifications for what you're doing. At the same time, harboring just this horrible bloodlust, probably born from feeling that the world was unfair, or rather, that you were not powerful enough to be able to change the world on your own. So, no character exhibits this better in anime than Griffith from Berserk. He is the leader of the band of hawks that takes in Guts. They fight together through thick and thin, and even though there are some harsh schemes politically within the world that they serve, and even within their group, nothing compares to what happens when everyone gets caught in one big attempt to save Griffith from all of these demons. But essentially it was all just one big plot for him to become one himself, sacrificing every one of his fellow teammates, doing horrible, undeniable things to Guts' girlfriend. His own girlfriend also. It's horrible. And what's even worse is Guts cannot properly get revenge for his fallen comrades, for his defiled comrades. Because what happens is Griffith uses his power to essentially become the hero of the land. And in becoming that hero, it makes it morally questionable for even Guts to go after him. At least in the sense of society. Guts is hell-bent to do so, but literally, he is gonna fight everything to get to him. Griffith is evil in the way that he has manipulated everything for the sake of his own personal gain. And as such, stands on top as almost angelic, when deep down he is the most twisted monster in that series, let alone all of anime for what he has done. So thank you guys for watching. That was my top 10 anime betrayals. And man, it was even harder to put that into perspective when I was trying to actually focus on it, just because I had to figure out what actually counted as a full out betrayal versus something that was probably just brainwashing or so. And thanks guys. I would like to hear your recommendations or so. If you feel that there's an anime I should check out because of a scenario like this, be free to share so in the comments. And like, share, and subscribe if you like this. I'll be sure to catch you all next time. I am your photography otaku junkie, otherwise known as the Photaku, and I hope you have a good one.